Solomon Thomas is a player that really showed up in his first game against the Eagles. If we're going to break down Kenny Clark, then we have to show him some love as well. Being a player that spent the block around the NFL, I didn't really know how much of an impact this guy would make, but the film never lies, and he is definitely off to a great start. He recorded 5 total tackles, 3 solos, and 2 assists, and was highly disruptive. From what I saw, he was very impactful in that second half, showcasing quick get-off that helped anchor the pass rush and tighten the goal line defense. So we had to put this video into production. Let's break him down and see what he did this past Thursday. So on this play here, we see Solomon Thomas showcasing his technical ability and football IQ. He starts off by aggressively ripping to the inside, using good leverage to gain advantage over the offensive lineman. What makes this impressive is how he follows it up, using the perfectly timed spin move that completely defeats the block. When he does disengage, he shows great awareness by identifying Saquon's run lane, then closes in and makes a key tackle. It's good to see a player using multiple moves here to defeat blocks and finish plays. So let's split it. So right in this play here, just watching Solomon Thomas, just squeezing right inside and using that rip with his right arm. The good thing is with this kind of player, he is one of those guys that tries to set the tone early and often, but the questions about him is being consistent. But on this play here, you see that he disengages from 68 by spinning off and locking in on Saquon Barkley. And with that defensive tackle position, as well as the defensive end position, if you can make that sudden move, all it takes is half a second for you to be able to go out there and disrupt these plays. Now, Barkley ended up having 60 yards total for the game, and that is big time because this player is one play away from being able to rip it off and change these games. You got to be very disciplined when you're going up against a runner like him. But to see Solomon Thomas engaging aggressively against number 68 and finding a second plan to be able to get away and affect this play is everything when it comes down to the defensive line. And if you do get this kind of play from him, Osa Odigizua, as well as Kenny Clark inside that interior, it's going to bring the best out of these linebackers as well as the secondary as well. Because if you can be able to disrupt these blocking concepts, it can close half of these offenses' playbook. So great play by Solomon Thomas, ripping inside, then spinning off and getting to Saquon Barkley. One of the things I really like from Thomas in this game is his hand usage. He strikes the offensive guard right off the snap and never gave him a chance to get set, using precise placement and timing. The quick contact completely disrupts the blocker's balance and never gave him a chance to properly set in his stance. Thomas maintains control, using his hands to create separation and closes in to get to the runner. You need this type of energy when it comes down to that defensive tackle position, and in this game here, Thomas was definitely bringing it. So let's spin it. So locking on this play here, just studying Solomon Thomas, striking that offensive guard, and extending those long arms. And all it takes is half a second to be able to knock these guys off balance, completely handicapping him, and he never had a chance to be able to recover. But zooming in closer on Solomon Thomas' body movements, you see that he's completely swinging him to the left side, knocking that guard out the way, getting into position, and locking his eyes on the running back. And it's honestly a sweet science when it comes down to that defensive tackle position, the defensive end position. Hand placement is very, very important. If you got these offensive linemen and they're lunging, you got to find ways to be able to counter it, because these little movements right here is how you can potentially change momentum in these games. And just like I said in a Kenny Clark video, they didn't start off that well in the first and second quarter, but once they got to halftime, they figured it out and they went out there and made plays. And to see all of these defensive tackles in rotation is big time. It's the same thing that Dan Quinn was doing with these defensive linemen. You want to make sure that you keep these guys fresh, so once you get to the fourth quarter, it's going to stress out the opposition. So with Matt Eberflus in game 1, film shows that he is trying to get all of these guys involved. So this ended up being another dominant play by Solomon here, capitalizing off the offensive guard's mistake. Here's a play where we see Thomas fighting inside, attacking the left tackle's inside shoulder, giving great effort, and playing to the whistle to stop the run again. As a player who's contributing just like Kenny Clark, both having 5 tackles and showing up when needed is everything. We need this kind of dog mentality that they show in the second half if this team is going to take that next step. So we'll go ahead and run it. So locking on this play here, you see that he's lined up in between that tackle and guard, attacking Mulata's inside shoulder and driving those legs. And you can just see the power from this player. But zooming in a little bit more, and you can see that he's extending those long arms. The same thing like Kenny Clark from the last film session. We need these guys to lay it all on the field. So he was able to get his hands on them and make another key stop. And this is why I love to be able to break down the defensive line. We love to be able to show y'all high quality film so you guys do not miss anything that's going on with these players. Say for instance, Donovan Ezeraku can get 7 sacks. You got Sam Williams getting 7 sacks. Split between both of those guys. That will total what Micah Parsons does for a season. On top of the defensive tackle play that they showed in the second half would be amazing for this regular season. But we all know that if this team is going to be able to get to where they want to go, it all starts up front. And what I do love about this coaching staff with Matt Eberflus and Shadi, he's trying to get these guys all on the same page. This is a family when it comes down to playing with the Dallas Cowboys. So if everybody can be able to buy in, this team could be hard to stop, but they got to go out there and prove it. Now, I'm not trying to gas a guy like Solomon Thomas. I know that this player didn't really make a difference from his previous teams, but we have to break down the good as well as the bad plays. If he's going out there and doing his job, I'm definitely going to show it, but it's up to him to stay consistent. This play here was absolutely one of my favorite defensive moments from the entire night. Thomas showcases perfect technique and raw power as he uses the pin pull against the tight end, completely removing the tight end out of his way and closing in with impressive quickness for a defensive tackle. This is the physical dominance that we've all been wanting from the interior. So we go ahead and run it. So locking on this play here, just seeing him completely crush this tight end, getting his hands inside and knocking this guy back. And this is why all these coaches always say you got to get your hands inside and play with good technique, shocking him quickly and pulling right away from him. And this is one of those guys that is absolutely brute strong. If you're going to line up a tight end against him, that is going to be a green light for our defense. So he disengages from that tight end and lays the lumber right on Saquon. But what's so good about this is if you focus a little bit more, you can just see that he's getting into position, ball in his fist and trying to punch the ball out. I love to be able to break this film down, man, because this is the kind of energy here that y'all cannot miss. A fumble right there can completely change a game. But this is an athlete, in my opinion, that can line up at that 3 technique. You can put him out in the 4. He's strong enough and quick enough. If he has a good understanding of the playbook, he shows on film that he has good positioning, but it's entirely up to him to take that next step and make a difference with this team. You don't want to be one of those players playing that hero ball, because usually when that does happen, you can get washed out of plays. So you have to go out there and play with good technique and do your job. And with Solomon Thomas, he is one of those athletes who is a high character guy. He probably won't bring this week in and week out. That is to be determined. Bringing him with a good rotation, he has the potential to jump off the screen. But another solid rep by Solomon, completely blowing up that tight end, punching at the football and making a difference. Here's a quick play where Thomas misses a tackle opportunity, but demonstrates excellent movement to close the gap on a running back. It won't be perfect, but it's good to point out his misses as well. So we go ahead and run it. So running this quick play here, just watching Solomon Thomas. You see that he's slashing inside and gives a double swim move. And with that guard, you can tell that he was overextending. But to see Solomon be slippery like this, that's what we got to pay attention to. Because he actually put himself in good position to stop the runner, but he ended up missing that tackle. So you got to be able to make those tackles because you do not want it to be backbreaking for the team. But it just shows that this player was everywhere. He was giving his all. And it kind of surprised me because his previous tape, he did make some plays, but he never jumped off the screen like this. But sometimes when you can be able to get around a new environment, the Dallas Cowboys, there are a lot of talented players in the defensive room. It could sometimes bring the best out of you. And bringing players like Trayvon Diggs back, hopefully DeMarvion Overshown to be back in the middle of the season, Shavon Ravel. We got some dogs on the way, but they're going to have to lock in and get this thing rolling. But we have to break down the bad plays as well from Solomon Thomas to see what this player could be able to work on. There is always room to grow and get better. So on this final rep here, you see Solomon and Marshawn Nealon go to work. Thomas holds his ground and is forcing Saquon to hesitate, giving Nealon enough time to make a key stop and make a solid play here. In Matt Eberflus's defense, they showed in the second half that they all have the potential to be on the same page, and it definitely showed on Thursday. So let's run it. So locking on this play here, He's engaging in contact with that left guard. And you can see with that left tackle, he did give him a nice little thump. But with Thomas, he's holding his ground and collapsing that run lane. And with Marshawn kneeling, he disengages as well and gets straight to the runner. There is no I in team when it comes down to defense. Everybody has to be on the same page. There will be times when you're playing that defensive tackle position, the 1 technique, the 3 technique, you might not be the guy around to play, but can you be a player that can be able to clog up those lanes and allow others to go out there and get busy? A lot of work that they need to do for sure, but they are off to a great start. So it's going to be good to see how it all plays out this season. With this defensive line, there are a plethora of players. They might not be elite players, but if you can have a solid core guys, that should be enough to allow this team to take that next step. Sometimes change is good. And with Solomon Thomas, he definitely has an opportunity to make a difference. But with players like Osa, Kenny Clark, Solomon Thomas, these are leaders on and off the field who could set that standard for the young guys. But there is a lot of work that they got to go out there and go do. But comment below and let me know what you guys think about Solomon Thomas and who else do y'all want to see me break down just like this video. So make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe and hit that notification bell because the way the YouTube algorithm works, if you don't hit it, you'll miss some fire updates and the best football film sessions on YouTube. All right, Cowboys Nation. Talk to y'all soon. Gone.